Mike Radich here, and I'm now joined on the phone by World Series of Fighting Bantamweight Josh Rettinghouse. Josh, how are you?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me.
Sure, no problem. Thanks for doing it. Josh, you got a fight coming up March 29th at World Series of Fighting 9. Before we start talking about that fight, let's go back to your last fight back at World Series of Fighting 6 in October of last year. You defeated Alexis Villa by unanimous decision. How pleased were you with your performance in that fight?
I honestly don't think I had the best performance, but considering the fact that it's a fight on 9 days' notice,
right.
It was. I thought it was a decent performance. I was able to open up a little bit, but I wanted to put him away. I wasn't able to do that, so that was a little bit of a disappointment. But at the end of the day, a win's a win. So it is what it is.
Mm-hmm. Now, a lot of people out there thought that going into the fight, Alexis Villa would just tear through you. He's a guy who he's a knockout machine. He absolutely destroyed Joe Warren, and not too many people knew anything about you, so a lot of people just assumed that Alexis Villa would just go in there and tear right through you. I'm just curious, what was the motivation for taking the fight? You mentioned that you took the fight on 9 days' notice, so a very short time to get ready for that fight. So I'm just curious, why did you take that fight? What was the main motivation for you to take that fight? Was it because you were fighting for a big show like World Series of Fighting? Was it because of the opponent, Alexis Villa? He's a pretty well-known name. A lot of people know him from his days in Bellator. What exactly was the motivation for taking this fight?
I think it was a little bit of both, but mainly it was fighting, for the World Series fighting and getting on, national or international stage, however you want to call it.
Right.
Really, I was still in college at the time, and I had told myself a while ago, I've been doing this for a while now, and I was telling myself, if I didn't get, a deal with some sort of major promotion by the time I graduated college, then I was going to, put MMA a little bit on the back burner and, maybe look for a real career, because I was just so sick of, just being broke and stuff. And then that was supposed to be my last quarter of college. So when I got that offer, it was really couldn't have come at a better time. So, I was a tad hesitant to take the fight at first, just because, like you said, he's a knockout machine. I watched him knock out Joe Warren live back in the day. I thought he was a little bit of a scary dude, and
right.
But it didn't take me much time to decide. I was just like, let's go for it. What do I got to lose? Like I said, I was on the verge of putting MMA on the back burner, so I really just felt like I had nothing to lose, and going to Miami wasn't terrible either. So it was kind of a win-win for me.
Right. Now, I'm just curious, where did you feel that you had the advantage going into that fight? Because I interviewed Alexis Villa before that fight, and when I brought up, I can't remember the exact question I gave to him, but it was something along the lines of, you're very confident that you want to win this fight, but, what's something about his game that worries you? And he kind of got insulted when I said something like that, because he's like, I'm an Olympic caliber wrestler and I got knockout power in both hands. What's this guy going to do to me? So I thought that was kind of weird, because he was, kind of pissed off at me when I mentioned that, that you had a chance to win the fight. So
that's funny.
Yeah. Honestly, yeah. Go ahead.
I guess he kind of has a case. I was, at the time I was a nobody, and like
right.
you said, nobody knew who I was or what I brought to the table.
Right.
But I knew, personally, on paper a little bit, I think it was a little bit of a mismatch for me, just in the sense, like you said, he's an Olympic wrestler, and most of my wins at the time had come by, wrestling and the submission game and everything like that. But over the years, I really diversified my game, and that was kind of the first fight I was able to use my stand-up game and stuff. That was really, I knew he had knockout power, but I knew that really all he did was throw haymakers. It wasn't like he's some super techie kickboxer or anything. So I really felt like I was the more technical and more diverse kickboxer and really fighter all around. I don't want to, dog him or anything like that, but he's a little bit of just like a brawler wrestler, whereas I felt like I was just the more well-rounded fighter, and that's what I knew I could do. I could just fight well-rounded and just really stay away from the takedown and stay away from the big punch. So I thought it was a good matchup for me. Plus, I knew he was a little bit smaller. I'm really used to fighting guys that are, a lot taller than me, so I thought that that would play an advantage as well.
Right, definitely. Now, he landed a couple of good shots on you. I think in the third, if I remember. I haven't gone back and watched the fight, but I think it was in the third he started landing some shots on you. How hard does that guy hit?
Honestly, I didn't, I was worried about it, but none of his shots really ever rocked me or made me dizzy or, honestly, I don't know if it was the adrenaline or I got a good chin or, he's gotten weaker. I don't exactly know, but, honestly, I feel like I've been hit way harder in the gym, so, I was never in trouble. I didn't think, either he just didn't land as clean as it looked or I just had too much adrenaline, but I wasn't, if I could do the fight again, I wouldn't be worried at all, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Now, earlier you mentioned that if you weren't going to get called to a big show and start making some money in this sport, you were going to have to put on the back burner and get, quote, a real job. So I'm just curious, was this offer, to fight Vila the first time you were contacted by World Series of Fighting, or were they, offering you a deal and then came back immediately and were like, hey, you want to fight on 9 days' notice? Could you explain how World Series of Fighting came into the picture?
Yeah, no, they had never contacted me previously. The only thing I had really done with any sort of big promotion was try out for the Ultimate Fighter, and I didn't make the cut. And basically, what had happened is one of my main training partners, Lee Morrison, he's actually fighting for the M1 Global Featherweight title a week after my fight. But he had just signed with a new manager, Jason Ellis, with the Relentless Sports Management, and he got the M1 deal, and he was, getting all these opportunities, and he kind of just put it in my ear one day. He's like, hey man, I know, my coach was managing me at the time, and he's like, I know, you're buddies with your coach and stuff, but, you should look into talking to my manager, see what he can do for you. I think that, he can get you some big opportunities. So, I waited a while. I sat on it, and finally I decided to call him, and we talked for a while. He didn't even mention anything about the World Series of Fighting. We were thinking more like XFC or RFA, something along those lines. But then, nothing was in stone, and actually I woke up the next day to him blowing up my phone and was like, hey, the World Series of Fighting looking for an opponent for Alexis Vila. Do you want it? And, at first, like I said, I was a little hesitant, but at the same time, I was just like, let's do it, It took me probably 5 minutes to take, to officially accept the fight, but, yeah, it was just really what it was signing with a bigger management team.
Mm-hmm. How was the first experience fighting for World Series of Fighting? And also, you really haven't fought at all outside of the Pacific Northwest. You mainly been fighting in that area, and this time, this fight against Vila was in Florida. So how was the whole experience, and how was the traveling to an event? How was that different from anything you've experienced before?
Yeah, no doubt, man. It was way different than anything I've done before. Most of my fights have, at least the last 3 before that one had just taken place right over in the Seattle area, which is only, a couple hours from where I'm at. So it's just a little drive. We drive over the day away and make weight, eat, rehydrate, fight, stay a day, and then leave. So this fight, they flew me out, I want to say 5 days before. I'd only flown on a plane once or twice before, and definitely not for 8 hours or whatever it was. So that was crazy in and of itself. Not to mention, in Miami, I haven't even been anywhere south of Oregon. So, that was huge. And then I got there, and everything was super professional. And just when I got there, it really felt like the big leagues, and it was just really exciting. And they treated me well, and honestly, it was just a great experience. Altogether, the landing, being in Miami, being with the executives, and then the fight itself, it was just all great. I loved it.
Mm-hmm. Now, I'm just curious, did you watch the Cody Bollinger Tyson Nam fight that took place at World Series of Fighting 8? Because there was a rumor going out, around that time that whoever won that fight would get a title fight against Marin Marais. But then when we get the announcement that World Series of Fighting 9 is coming around and there's going to be a bantamweight title online, it's you on the poster and not Bollinger. Were you surprised when they came and offered you a title fight?
Yeah, well, of course, to answer the first part of the question, I definitely watched the fight. I had it DVR'd.
Right.
Strictly from the fact, I know that either of those dudes could be future competition, and from the fact, like you said, that these guys were probably going to be fighting for the title against Marlon. I knew Marlon was going to be fighting for the title.
Right.
I just didn't know for sure if one of those guys would be. I don't exactly know if it was like they weren't impressed with Cody's performance, or he was just unable to take it, or he didn't want it. I honestly have no idea as far as how that went. I just know that I got the call from my manager. I think it was like January, I don't know, say 25th or something, and was like, hey, I just got off the phone with Ali, and they were setting up the fight for March 29th, and they said, the title fight's yours if you want it, and I didn't hesitate. I just jumped all over it. I feel like with 8 weeks notice, you can really prepare for anybody, and I've really never had that in the past. Most of my fights in the past have been like, honestly, anywhere from 7 to 14 days notice, so I knew with that amount of time and everything that I could prepare for anybody, so I just jumped all over it. It was a huge opportunity. I think they told me initially that it was going to be main event, so I was definitely excited for that, but just being on the main card in general is huge, so it was just a huge opportunity. I wasn't going to let it slip. When opportunity knocks, I always answer, so I was ready.
Earlier you said that the Alexis Villa fight, it was a win, but you weren't too pleased with your performance. You were happy to get the win, but other than that, you didn't feel it was your best one. Where did you think you were actually headed next? Obviously this title fight came, out of left field, but, what do you think was the plan for you? Where did you think you were going next after the Villa fight?
I thought, honestly, I was going to fight Chad Robichaud, because we both fought on the same card. We were both on the prelims, and, I thought neither of us were true. I think it was both of our World Series of Fighting debuts, so I was thinking, put us both in there, and then maybe do some sort of title eliminator there, and then maybe fight the winner of Marlon versus whoever. But I didn't know. Like I said, I expected at least one more fight, probably against Robichaud, or somebody coming off of a win, just to be able to prove myself. But I have no idea exactly what they wanted to do, so I'm just happy to be where I'm at right now.
Definitely. Now, you mentioned that you were scoping out the Bollinger-Tyson Nam fight because that might have, and still could be, you never know. It could still be a matchup in the future that you'll have. You might fight one of those two guys coming up here in the near to distant future. So, but Marin Marais, he fought on the same card as you. He fought Carson Beebe at World Series of Fighting 6. Just curious, since your fight was already over when that fight was taking place, how much of that fight did you check out?
Oh yeah, man, I was actually sitting floor seats with my manager. We watched that fight, very closely. I knew that, again, either of those guys could be future competition, so I really wanted, and I didn't know a ton about Carson Beebe either. I knew he had a decent record. I'd watched Marlon before, so I kind of knew what he was about, but it was mainly more to kind of see how Carson would match up with him. He's supposed to be a good wrestler and stuff, so I wanted to see if he could, take him down or whatever, bring the fight to him a little bit. But honestly, I wasn't impressed with. I was impressed with Marlon's performance, but more so, I was unimpressed with Carson's performance. So I don't think there was a ton to take from the fight, honestly.
Obviously, you took this fight because you feel that this is a fight that you can win. So where do you feel that you have the advantage against Marin Marais?
Honestly, I don't know. That's what I got to go in there and figure out.
Obviously,
but,
right.
But I think we match up pretty well. He's really athletic, and obviously he's a really good kickboxer. I know I'm going to be the better wrestler. I think our jiu-jitsu is probably pretty similar. But, I got to go in there and I got to test the waters everywhere. I truly think that you'll see a little bit of everything in this fight. I think you're going to see some kickboxing. I think you're going to see some wrestling, some jiu-jitsu. So I just got to go in there and, just find the way to win and, find out where I am stronger. Like I said, I truly don't know right now. It's my job to just go out there and find out and find the way to win.
Mm-hmm. You seem to know Marin Marais very well. You've watched all his fights, and you've given a pretty good breakdown of his skill set. But I'm just curious, how much do you think he knows about you?
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing, man. Nobody knows about me. Nobody knows what I'm bringing to the table. I feel like I'm still really new to the sport. I mean, I've been in for probably 5 years now, but, I'm growing every fight. I evolve every fight. If, anybody that's seen, I'd say, like, my past 5-6 fights, every fight I'm improving, leaps and bounds, and I truly feel like I'm 100 times better than the Vila fight, even, it was only a couple months ago, but I've improved so much, and I think that's my biggest asset, is that nobody knows what to expect from me. He probably thinks I'm just some wrestler or something, but, he'll be in store for a little bit of a surprise if that's what he thinks.
Mm-hmm. Now, I know that you can't speak 100% for him, but just to give us an idea, how do you think he views you? Does he view you as a step up in competition, or does he view you just as like the next logical step, like the next guy up from BB and some of the other guys that he's fought in the past? Like, do you have a sense of what he kind of thinks about you?
Yeah, I honestly just got off the conference call with them, and, he talked about it a little bit, but, I honestly think that he thinks of me just as the next logical step, like you said. I don't think that he thinks of me as being any better than Tyson Nam or
right.
Miguel Torres or anything like that. Honestly, those guys probably have a better resume than I do. So, just from, like a paper standpoint, honestly, I'm probably not a step up in competition. So he probably has every right to think that way, but, I'm pretty good at, just like same with the Alexis Vila fight. I just got to go out there and surprise people and, hopefully surprise him too.
Mm-hmm. Now, a lot of people out there believe that Marin Marais is the uncrowned World Series of Fighting champion just because of the wins that he's gotten under their banner. You mentioned some of them, the Tyson Nam, Miguel Torres, Brandon Heppelman, Carson Beebe, all those wins. A lot of people feel like he's already the champion, even though he doesn't have the belt yet. And some people say that because he's done, you can make the argument that he's done more than some of the guys who already have the belt in World Series of Fighting in the different weight classes. So a lot of people feel like he's the uncrowned champion, and some people feel that he's top 10 in the world. So he has a lot of momentum going his way. Are you approaching this fight as a fight where you have nothing to lose?
Oh, yeah, no doubt, man. This is a win-win for me once again. That's, again, why I didn't hesitate to take the fight, I know a strong performance, win, lose, or draw, is going to, increase my marketability and just show people, where I'm at. But like you said, I still feel, I feel the same way as far as him being the uncrowned king. I'm honestly approaching this fight like he's already the champion. I don't see it as the title really being up for grabs, honestly. I feel like he's the champ. He's proved himself. He's had more fights, and I'm the challenger in this fight. I think anybody that has followed the World Series of Fighting is probably can say the same thing. So yeah, man, he's definitely probably top 10, top 12. I'd say he's pretty close to one of the best outside the UFC. But that's why I took the fight. A win over him is going to be huge for me, so I'm looking to take that spot,
Mm-hmm. What is the most exciting part about this experience that you're about to have? Is it that you're fighting for a world title? Is it because you're going to be on the biggest platform you've ever fought on, live on NBC Sports Network, co-main event of a pretty good card? If you look at it top to bottom, it's pretty stacked. Is it that? Is it the opponent? A top 10, top 12 guy, like you said, fighting? What's the best part? What excites you the most about this situation?
I don't know what excites me the most. I think it's truly a combination of everything, like you said. It's a stacked card. I'm headlining over Yushin Okami and Josh Berkman, which is crazy. But, watching these guys when I was still an amateur. But that, and fighting Marlon, fighting a guy that's so highly ranked, and fighting NBC Sports is huge too. I mean, all my friends are going to be watching it on national TV. And then, the title is up for grabs too, so to be able to have the chance to be the face of the Bantamweight division in the World Series of Fighting, and just be able to display my skill set on national TV to, all the media is huge. I honestly don't know what the best part is. I'm honestly just, I'm excited for all of it, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Does it mean anything to you to be fighting in the fight capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada? Is that something that means anything to you? Because 10, 12 years ago, that was like, the sign that you had made it in the MMA world, because back then, 10, 12 years ago, that's where the UFC was only doing shows out of. They weren't traveling, they were solely doing it in Las Vegas. So, does that mean anything to you to be fighting in Vegas?
Oh, yeah, definitely, man. Like, it's the fight capital of the world, so to be fighting for a world title in Las Vegas on national TV is huge, man. Especially, I tell, my friends find out about it, and even, like, my friends that don't even know, like, a whole lot about fighting, like, wow, you're fighting in Las Vegas? Like, even they think that's huge. So definitely excited about that, and like you said, man, it's the fight capital of the world. I mean, I wouldn't have it any other way. I'm glad that it's going down in Vegas.
Mm-hmm. Just curious, who's going to be cornering you for this fight?
It's going to be my striking coach, my number one training partner. He's an up-and-coming pro, Dylan Morgan. He actually got me into wrestling originally, and then he actually was the one to get me into MMA too, which is kind of funny because he started before I did, and I'm kind of surpassed him a little bit. But then Lee Morrison as well, the guy I said that was going to be fighting for the M1 World Featherweight title. Those three guys are going to be in my corner.
Mm-hmm. Just curious, where do you train out of? Because I've seen a couple different things online of some gyms that they have linked to you, but I'm not 100% sure. So where do you train at?
Yeah, I think if you look online, it says BJJ Spokane. That's
right.
Not where I'm training anymore. That's where I started. That's where I got, my main start. But right now I'm training at my striking coach's studio. It's called the Toyama Karate Do Spokane. And that's really like, we really do like privates and like, I bring in a small group of guys. It's like a really centered training. It's almost like a boxing approach. But then I'm also training out of Warrior Camp MMA, and then Trevor Prangley's American Kickboxing Academy out in Coeur d'Alene. So I've kind of got a little bit of a mix of training, but my home base is the Toyama Karate Do. That's my head coach there.
Mm-hmm. Now, earlier you mentioned that when you signed with World Series of Fighting, you were still a student in college. Have you graduated? And if so, is fighting the only thing you do, or do you have another job?
I do have a part-time job right now, and I've just put school on the side track. I earned my accounting degree, my bachelor's degree in accounting. I'm only one class away from a bachelor's degree in finance, which is what I was pursuing currently, but I've kind of put that on the back burner just for this fight. And I do have a part-time security job that I work approximately 20 hours a week, but I got a really cool boss, and he's a big fight fan, so he really works my schedule around my training and my fights. So it's really not too much right now, but in the future, hopefully after this fight or the next fight, I can probably put that down as well and just focus on fighting. That's my goal.
Mm-hmm. Now, how often are you told that you don't look like a fighter?
Honestly, I mean, it's kind of funny because I was at the coffee shop the other day, and I go there all the time, and she just found out I was fighting. She's like, what? And especially in college, like when I was taking all these accounting classes, and a couple of my friends and professors found out, and they were pretty surprised too. But yeah, I hear it all the time, man, except for people that follow the sport kind of know. I got a little cauliflower ear. I got a couple little scars around my eye and stuff. So people that pay attention to detail know. But the common common observer undoubtedly is surprised when they find out.
Mm-hmm. What are you told when they ask you, what do you do, and you tell them that you're a fighter? Is it like something where they're like, no, seriously, what do you really do? Or is it like, no way, I can't believe you do that, that's awesome? What kind of response do you get when you tell people you're a fighter?
Oh man, I get everything from why do you do that?
Right.
Really you? Or I get oh my God, that's amazing. That it truly depends on who's finding out and if they're a fan or not, and what they think of me too. So like I said, it ranges from my accounting professors to my bosses at work to the lady at the coffee stand to just other MMA fighters that don't even know who I am. So it really depends. I've had a wide range of reactions from people, but it's always funny to get a reaction out of people.
Mm-hmm. Now, you and I are pretty close in age. You're a little bit older than I am, but we're pretty similar in age, I would say, a couple of years here and there, give or take. You had braces for a while, and I had braces for a while, and I couldn't even imagine fighting in braces, and you did that.
Oh,
so how was that?
Oh, it was terrible, man. Holy cow. I was so glad to get them. I just actually got them off. When did I get them off? I got them off last January, not this past January, but the January before that. But I had fought like 5 times in them or something, man. Honestly, the fights themselves weren't that bad. It was really like training and stuff. That's where you really take the most damage. And, anytime I was getting hit in the mouth or anything, I was getting like nasty cuts in my mouth, and they'd be turning into, little canker sores, and it was so miserable. Obviously I'm glad I got them, but it was seriously so miserable. I'm so happy to get them off, man. I can't even explain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like a lot of people always said that like Frank Shamrock and Paul Daly always got theirs taken off, but that was never true. They always fought with them on, so I always wondered how they were able to do that. And I just got mine off. I think it was in November or December, this past November or December. I can't remember the exact date, but I couldn't even imagine doing that. And my orthodontist, he asked me what I do, and I said that I'm a reporter, journalist, whatever you want to call me, for mixed martial arts. And then they like freaked out. They're like, "Oh, you compete in mixed martial arts?" And I'm like, "No, I did not say that. I said that I cover it. I don't do it." And they're like, "Oh, well, we wouldn't allow you to do that." So, what did your orthodontist say to you, or did you never tell him, what you do?
Oh, I told him. He wasn't concerned at all. Really, I was actually really surprised. That was one of my main questions when I went to get him on was I still going to be able to compete and fight and stuff like that. But apparently he had worked on a couple pro boxers or something locally, so he knew that it was doable. I just had like a little bit of a special mouth guard. It was a little bit uncomfortable. It was harder to my breathing. It was a lot harder to breathe than just with a regular mouth guard. But no, he was all for it, man. He was telling me not to let anything stop me. So he was a really cool guy, and yeah, he was all for it.
Mm-hmm. Now, are there any special things that you have to do now that you have them off? Like, do you still have a special mouthpiece that they mold for you, or is it just back to normal?
It's back to normal now. Now I'm finally able to get molded mouth guards and stuff. Basically, before all I had was basically a giant piece of rubber that covered the top and bottom that I had to continually bite down on, so I could really never breathe out of my mouth ever. I had to really focus on breathing out of my nose and stuff. But now I have permanent retainers in, but they don't have an effect on my mouth guard or anything. I just have to wear, and then I wear a plastic retainer at night still. But no special mouth guard or anything like that. I can do whatever I feel free to do now.
Mm-hmm. Those retainers, are those the ones that are glued on the inside on the first 6 teeth on the bottom and top?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have the same thing. Same thing here, yep. So, Josh, real quick before I let you go, do you have any sponsors you'd like to thank, and is there anything you'd like to say to the fans?
Yeah, no doubt. I want to thank, first and foremost, I just want to thank you for having me, and I want to thank, all my supporters and believers, anybody that's showed love and support for me throughout my career. And as far as sponsors go, I want to thank Rev Gear. I actually just got a huge gift package from them today. Really happy about that. It's Christmas over here, getting a bunch of new gear. But Unique Kennels just came on board, New Breed Nutrition, and Fight for Something Clothing and Apparel, shoeboxtravel.com. That's my buddy actually went to high school with, just jumped on board. He's been huge for me. And who else? I know I got a couple more. Intensity Nutrition and Amber Elite Sports. And I think that's it. Oh, and definitely want to thank my manager, Jason Ellis. He's definitely done great things for me, and I'm really happy that he's done a lot for me.
Josh, thank you for taking the time to talk. I really appreciate it. Good luck March 29th at World Series of Fighting 9 against Marin Marais.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me. Don't miss it.